الجمهوريين والديمقراطيين الاثنين مش راضيين. ترامب في قلب عاصفة سياسية ضخمة جدا، مع ان الاتفاق او الهدنة دي حقيقة سعى اليها ترامب سعيا حثيثا لعله ينقذ ما يستطيع انقاذه قبل انتخابات التجديد النصفي في مطلع نوفمبر، وبعدها يصبح لكل حادث حديث. أمريكا تتحدث عن صفقة غامضة مع إيران وصندوق إعادة إعمار تصل قيمته ل 300 مليار. كل معلومة جديدة بتخرج يزداد الجدل، لدرجة أن شخصيات جمهورية وديمقراطية تتحدث عن تنازلات غير مسبوقة قدمتها واشنطن مقابل إعادة فتح هرمز. مسؤولين ومحللين أمريكان خرجوا باتهامات صادمة، قالوا أن الإيرانيين نجحوا في دفع ترامب نحو الصفقة اللي عايزينها بالظبط، وإن ما يحدث الآن واحد من أكبر التحولات السياسية في الشرق الأوسط خلال العقود الأخيرة. ظهر تسريب آخر لا يقل إثارة، ميكروفون مفتوح التقط حديث جانبي بين ترامب ورئيس الوزراء الكندي مارك كارني خلال قمة مجموعة السبع. كشف الحديث أو التسريب جانب من طريقة إدارة ترامب لملفات التجارة والصفقات خلف الأبواب المغلقة. ده كلاكيت تاني مرة ميكروفون مفتوح يكشف ما كان يدور بين ترامب ورئيس الوزراء الكندي أثناء قمة مجموعة السبع في فرنسا. مجموع كلمات قصيرة جدا ظهرت في التسريب. كارني كان بيقول لترامب أقل من 3% من سوقنا 49,000 سيارة، وبعدين رفع إيده وعمل حركة واضحة كأنه بيرسم خطة وبيحدد سقف معين، وقال لترامب أعتقد إنك هتحب ده. وانا اعتقد ان هم بيتكلموا على اتفاقيه السيارات اللي اتعملت مع الصين رقم 49,000. ده يعني لم ياتي امامنا الا في اتفاقيه التجاره مع الصين لسيارات الكهرباء. بالفعل الكلام كان بيدور عن السيارات الكهربائية الصينية اللي كندا عملت اتفاقية مع الصين انه 49,000 سيارة برسوم جمركية مخفضة. فيبدو ان ترامب، انت عارف ترامب عدو السيارات الكهرباء، كان يعني بينتقد كارني، فكان قال له ده كلهم 49,000 سيارة ما يجوش حاجة من نسبة السيارات او مبيعات السيارات عندنا في كندا، حد معين يعني مش هيزيد عن كده، فما تشكلش ضرر يعني 49,000 سيارة. أمريكا كانت فرضت رسوم ضخمة تصل ل 100% على السيارات الكهربائية الصينية لحماية الصناعة الأمريكية. كندا كانت ماشية في نفس الاتجاه، لكن نتيجة تحرشات ترامب بكندا راحت عملت اتفاقية مع الصين سمحت بدخول 49,000 سيارة برسوم لا تتجاوز 6.1% فقط. فاكرين؟ والصين تستورد، وبعدين بذور الاشياء كانت في الاتفاقيه دي برضو لو انا الذاكره لم تخني يعني. كان بيحاول يطمن ترامب، يقول له دي 3% بس، ان في سقف صارم ما تقلقش، فتحنا الباب للصين نغيظك لكن بحدود محسوبه جدا. كارني اتسال من الصحفيين على الاتفاق الامريكي الايراني، قال انه اطلع عليه. لما اتسال عن صندوق اعاده الاعمار بقيمه 300 مليار هل هيكون لكندا دور، نفى اي مشاركه ماليه لبلاده، قال لك العبيد بس اللي بيدفعوا، لكن احنا نقدر نشارك في اي حاجه تانية غير دفع الفلوس.
In your interview, the Iran deal, the details of it. Yeah. What's your understanding of the 300 billion, where that money is going to come from? And I think you also mentioned that Canada maybe have a role, like you're going to be advising it all?
There's a variety of things that we can do. I guess the couple of things. One, there are frozen assets. I think it's for the principles of the deal to speak to the details of the money. To be clear, there's no Canadian money going in that. What you need in any of these accords is you need people to help implement them, third parties to help implement them, moderators, overseeing. If you have money that's linked to, which is the case with this deal, which has conditions and linked to the fulfillment of those conditions and being managed, sometimes you have third countries do that. Canada is, of course, willing to help if that's appropriate.
مستشار الألماني ميرتز كان يدوب من كام اسبوع ذكرت حضراتكم حالة الامس بيقول ان امريكا في حالة ادلال من ايران. النهارده وصف الاتفاق بانه نجاح كبير للرئيس ترامب.
Die Einigung, die zwischen Präsident Trump und der iranischen Führung erzielt werden konnte, das ist ein wirklich großer Erfolg. Wir sehen es auch heute, zum Beispiel beim Ölpreis, dass er jetzt weiter zurückgeht, ist ein gutes Zeichen und offensichtlich werden auch die Lieferbeziehungen systematisch wieder aufgenommen. Diesem Abschluss dieser Vereinbarung müssen nun auch weitere Verhandlungen folgen, insbesondere eine zweite Verhandlungsrunde. Wir sind uns über das Ziel völlig einig.
في امريكا زي ما قلت لحضراتكم الموقف كان مختلف جدا. مستشار الامن القومي الامريكي الاسبق جون بولتون ذو المواقف المتشدده تجاه ايران والداعم بشده لاسرائيل خرج بتصريحات عنيفه ان الايرانيين لعبوا على ترامب كما يعزف على الكمان، لان ترامب متلهف ويائس في سبيل ابرام الصفقه، والايرانيين شموا كده وما سموش عليه.
The Iranians can see that. They've seen for weeks, if not months. Trump is desperate for a deal. He's desperate for a deal, and they have maneuvered him. They've played him like a violin. That's why they've got the deal that they want.
بولتون قال ان الصفقه سيئه جدا بالنسبه لامريكا. ترامب لا يفكر في الاثار الجيوسياسيه او الاستراتيجيه للاتفاق. احنا ما نعرفش التفاصيل، ولو كانت صفقه عظيمه فعلا كما يدعي ترامب لكانت معلنه أمام الجميع.
For the United States, Trump isn't thinking about the geostrategic implications of the deal. He's thinking of one thing. He wants the Strait open. He wants Gulf oil on international markets. He wants the price of gasoline at the pump down. That's all he cares about.
So at this point, if we understand, you're saying that he's put the U.S. national security at risk in exchange for cheap oil.
Well, I think that's basically what it comes down to. You know, Trump says he's digitally signed the agreement. The Prime Minister of Pakistan says they're going to sign it on Friday after 4 more days of technical talks. We don't know what's in this deal. If it were a great deal, it would be out in public. And I think that tells you pretty much what you need to know.
سيناتور الديمقراطي كريس ميرفي هجوم عنيف على الاتفاق. ترامب مش عايز الامريكان يشوفوا التفاصيل، لان التفاصيل بتكشف حجم الكارثه التي انتهت اليها الحرب، وأن الأهداف اللي أعلنتها الإدارة لم تتحقق.
His reputation around the world is shattered. This has been a humiliating 100 days for the United States. Brian is right. The president doesn't want you to see this agreement because it is essentially a report card on what a disaster this war has been. It does bear repeating that none of Donald Trump's objectives have been achieved, and they're not even close to being achieved. Reportedly, Iran still has 70% of their missiles after a $60 billion bombing campaign. The Ayatollah is gone, but the regime now is more radical and more capable. The regime has proved that they can take America's best shot and survive. They have proved that they can control the Strait of Hormuz. And while no one has seen this agreement, and there is still some doubt that it will even actually materialize, it appears at the foundation to be a payment to Iran to open the strait. The numbers are fuzzy, but it looks as if there will be significant sanctions relief given to Iran so that they open the strait.
إدارة ترامب بتسوق الاتفاق على إنه إنجاز تاريخي. السيناتور آدم شيف كتب تغريدة وصف فيها ما حدث بإنه استسلام كامل لإيران اللي هتتحصل على تخفيف واسع للعقوبات، مليارات الدولارات من الأموال المجمدة، استعادة قدرتها على تصدير النفط، صندوق إعادة إعمار، بينما كل ما تتحصل عليه أمريكا في المقابل إعادة التأكيد على وعد قديم وغامض بأن إيران لن تطور سلاحا نوويا. الكل بيسأل في أمريكا هل احنا فعلا قدام صفقة تاريخية ولا امام استسلام امريكي ضخم؟ هيلاري كلينتون رجعت بالذاكرة لسنوات طويلة وقالت ان نتنياهو كان مهووس بشيئين اساسيين، ايران والتطبيع مع السعودية. اول لقاء رسمي جمعها بيه سنة 2009 كان بيدور كيف نصل للتطبيع مع السعودية وكيف نقطع رأس ايران بالكامل.
Of course. And look, Bibi's been obsessed as long as I've dealt with him, with two things: Iran, as you know, and his desire to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia. The first formal meeting I had with him in 2009, probably March, at the State Department, it was absolutely, how can we get normalization with Saudi Arabia, and how do we totally decapitate Iran? And he had this view that I think has become very clear in his, dealings with Trump. Number one, decapitate the regime, it will fall. Number two, do enough bombing against enough critical infrastructure, try to, disable the military insofar as possible, the people will rise up. And that was just never our read about what was going to happen.
هيلاري قالت كمان ان الحكومة الإسرائيلية كانت بتضغط دايما على أمريكا عشان تعمل عمل عسكري ضد إيران أثناء فترة وجودها كوزيرة خارجية، وإن الحكاية دي ما كانتش بتقف أبدا. إحنا جاهزين بالطيارات، جاهزين، يلا نتحرك.
Right. When I was secretary, it was a constant, theme by Netanyahu and his then government, the then defense minister, Ehud Barak, the former prime minister. It was relentless. It was a constant push. I remember...
what would he say to you?
What?
What would he say to you?
He would basically say, you need to support us in attacking Iran. And back then, this was, 2009 to the end of 2012, we had more capacity than Israel did on several fronts to do that. And so there was a constant argument that we would have. And I remember one day I was on the phone for hours with Ehud, with Bibi, with others, and they would say things like, our planes are on the tarmac. And I'd say, well, good luck. I mean, great. Why are you doing this?
Where else would planes be other than in the air?
But on the tarmac, ready to take off. Yes. Well, no, they'd be in the hangar, but they were on the tarmac. And you would say things.
You're saying you were being played
all the time. All the time. I mean,
by an ally that receives an enormous amount of aid.
Well, of course. And look, Bibi's been
شوف الحديث عن إسرائيل بتلك السلبية لم يكن حدثا من السهل انه يحصل في امريكا وسنوات طويله تؤكد لنا هذا. هيلاري كلينتون قالت ان نتنياهو الحرب مش مجرد خيار سياسي، دي وسيله للبقاء في الحكم. احنا هذه الجمله ايضا استخدمناها مرات طويله جدا. انه كل ما يلاقي بنفسه محاصر سياسيا او شعبيته بتتراجع بيلجأ لتصعيد صراع او خلق ازمه.
That has not been uprooted yet. So I think, Netanyahu believes that war is his friend because his political standing is under attack from a lot of different directions. And he wants to contain the opposition by creating conflict so that he tries to rally the country behind him. I think this Iran deal may be, the straw that finally breaks that and creates an opening for his departure in the upcoming elections and, a government that is certainly going to be very concerned about Israel's security, but might be somewhat more, adept at dealing with these problems in a way that enhances Israel's security.
بيرني ساندرز كتب وتحدث عن إسرائيل من زاوية أخرى وقال إن 16% فقط من الأمريكان بيؤيدوا استمرار تسليح الكيان دون قيود، ومع هذا بيستمر الكونجرس في تعميق التكامل العسكري معها بشكل غير مسبوق. ساندرز طالب بحذف بند كامل من ميزانية البنتاجون لأنه بيمنح الكيان امتيازات عسكرية تتجاوز حتى بعض الحلفاء في الناتو. انتقادات لاذعة في الإعلام الأمريكي وهجوم كبير على ترامب بسبب تلك المذكرة.
Memorandum of understanding, and that memorandum of understanding, it seems to me, why they haven't released it, it's worrisome. It could easily turn into a memorandum of misunderstanding. that this administration is going to find it almost impossible to return to the kind of military action and military campaign that was waged roughly from February 28th to April 7, 8. I just don't see how most of the original war aims, restriction of ballistic missiles, no. Cutting ties with proxies, no. Changing the regime, moderating the regime, fracturing the regime, no. Ending Iran's nuclear infrastructure, no. I mean, they've got 11 tons of uranium enriched since this administration walked out of the JCPOA.
ترامب ما قدموش إلا إنه يضغط على نتنياهو. لم يتبقى ليه باب آخر. مجبر أخاك لا بطل.
Daylight that exists in that relationship between Trump and Netanyahu at this present juncture.
It's really quite remarkable. I mean, I worked for administrations Jimmy Carter to Bush 43, and you could throw in Obama and Biden. No American president, maybe with the possible exception of Eisenhower, whose language was not nearly as explicit or profane publicly as the president's. No American president has ever talked about an Israeli prime minister in the way Donald Trump has. And I think Netanyahu is in a box. October, you're going to have elections. He needs Donald Trump actively campaigning for him. A Donald Trump who is still more popular in Israel than Netanyahu is. So the administration, the president, has enormous leverage over Netanyahu. Whether he's going to use it, if in fact the Israelis and Hezbollah continue their conflict in Lebanon, which could undermine this broader arrangement, remains to be seen. But it's really quite extraordinary.
آرون ديفيد ميلر قال لك ترامب صدع أمنا إن النظام ده مجرم بيقتل المتظاهرين ودعا ومول ثورة ضده، دلوقتي رايح يحط إيده في إيد اللي قال عليهم قتلة ومجرمين.
I think it's in their interest to see the straits open. What they're going to demand to have it open, it may well be that certain oil exporters, shipping companies will agree to pay the price. You may get separate arrangements for various countries. It's just that I think that, and that's the problem, right? February 27th, the day before the war started, the straits were free and unfettered. And no matter how the administration dresses up the unfreezing of Iranian assets, since money is fungible, they can basically say, well, we're not paying the Iranians to open the straits. But in essence, they are. And if the vice president of the United States shows up in Geneva to sign this with the lead Iranian negotiator, Mohammad Ghalibaf, whose reputation for repressing and suppressing a regime, facilitating a regime that kills, tortures, and murders its own citizens, if there's a handshake there, it's going to put to rest and essentially bury the notion that Donald Trump's initial effort to tell the Iranian people that help is on the way, they're going to end up strengthening and emboldening the very regime that the president sought to change. That is one of the cruelest, that and the straits, I think, are one of the cruelest ironies of this war of choice.
قال لك الخليج بقى يمشي نفسه مع إيران إن الحرب أضرت بيهم. ما جبناش حاجة من عندنا إحنا.
I think the Gulf states are furious at the Israelis for sure, with the possible exception of the Emiratis. Remember, the Emiratis were the recipients of Iron Dome. And they criticized their Gulf neighbors for failing to do more to stand up in the face of Iranian drones and missiles. I think the Gulf states basically also resent the United States, resent this war, because this war has compromised the Dubai model. The notion that the Gulf is going to be turned into Gulf states, the entrepot, sports, culture, high-tech, AI, computing centers, an economic and financial entrepot, all of this depends on security and stability. And I suspect each Gulf state, the Omanis and the Qataris have already cut their deals with the Iranians. The Emirates, the Reuters reporting, I can't confirm it, that they've transferred billions of dollars. The Emiratis denied it to Iran. the Saudis, I think you could kiss goodbye any prospect of normalization, certainly with this Israeli government, the most extreme right wing in Israel's history. So I think the biggest losers in all of this, other than the United States and Benjamin Netanyahu's own aspirations for regime change, I think are the Gulf states. They're going to face an angry, bitter, and still quite resilient Iranian regime. And therein hangs the tale. I think it's going to be fascinating to see exactly how these Gulf states comport themselves in navigating a narrow course between their dependence on the United States and the need to find some modus vivendi with the now controlled Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran.
قال لك لبنان، شوف حتى الامارات اضطرت تدفع، لبنان هتكون صداع ترامب في الاتفاق. وانا قلت لحضرتك انه لبنان حقيقه ونتنياهو دول اللي ايران في الاتفاق تكمل تطلع دايما ستجد المبرر.
Wrapping this whole deal up, do you think that it likely, actually allowed the Iranians to extract more concessions from the U.S.?
Yeah, I think, I don't believe in conspiracies, but you could argue that it actually accelerated the deal because the Iranians stayed their hand. The Israelis struck in Hezbollah in the Dahya in southern Beirut. They killed one person. And the Iranians, I think, have basically said this evening that there were a couple contested points in the memorandum of understanding, hopefully not a memorandum of misunderstanding, that in essence were improved as a consequence of the fact that the president persuaded them not to strike the Israelis. So, this is just another cruel irony. And what happens when, in fact, you launch a war of choice, you overestimate your own capacities, and you fundamentally underestimate the capacities of your adversary. It's really a poster child for the law of unintended consequences. And
ده في الوقت اللي الغضب من الاتفاق ليس فقط من معارضين ترامب، حتى فوكس نيوز التعريضية بكل أدائها واللي يتشابه مع القنوات المصرية هجمت الاتفاق حقيقة يعني.
Journal has it that Iran can immediately sell oil and that they're going to get some sanctions relief right off the bat. That was something that we heard was not going to happen. So they have an incentive to get this going by Friday, and there's going to be money changing hands. In the copies of the MOU that we've seen, again, leaked, we have this $300 billion fund. And I saw you last night, you were with Sean talking about it. He said, well, it's not our money. It's, Gulf nation money, our partners' money, but that's still a $300 billion payday. And that's something that they desperately want to have. The punting on the nuclear program for the 60-day negotiation, that's the real tough stuff of this, right? Like that's the meat of what we really need to get done. And you say the JCPOA, didn't have anything about that. It's in the preamble of the JCPOA that Iran will cease all efforts to have a nuclear weapon and enrichment will be held at about 3%.
Well, they can't enrich now because they can't get the dust, Jessica.
Also,
Barack Obama never buried it.
Well, the vice president is here. Don't interrupt me, and then it'll be over really fast.
على فكرة ترامب هيتجنن من كمية الأحاديث اللي عاملها دي فانس ينعي ولده ويصلح ساعات ويستعد للانتخابات. وده شيء مش مقبول عند ترامب.
Pointed with this deal, and it's not just Democrats, it's the whole spectrum of Republicans from, MAGA America First Republicans to traditional neocon Republicans who are concerned that it doesn't actually get rid of this ballistic missile program, the proxy forces, the regime change, which were the initial promises of this war. And I think also that big Axios report last night was meaningful, where they said that CIA Director Ratcliffe, Rubio, and Hegseth, based on American intelligence, were doubting the kind of results they thought we could get out of this deal.
Yeah, so Jessica, let me address a couple of things, because I think you're making the same mistake, unfortunately, that a lot of the Iranian propagandists make when they talk about this,
like
which
the
is
Wall Street Journal?
They talk about the benefits to the Iranians without any of the things the Iranians would have to give up and have to change in order to get those benefits. So you mentioned a $300 billion fund. I got to be very clear about this. Not a single cent of American money under any circumstance, no matter what the Iranians do, goes to Iran. Not a single cent of American money.
Other money.
Well, here's what this says. This says, for example, let's say that the United Arab Emirates, who have been a great ally, let's say they want to invest in a power plant in Iran. What this deal provides is that if the Iranians have done everything we require them to do, then we will allow the United Arab Emirates to do that. Because they can't do that right now without American approval. So we're fundamentally saying if the Iranians transform how they interact with the world, we will transform how the world economy interacts with Iran. But if they don't do any of that stuff, they don't get any of these benefits.
لا ليه تسموا الامور بمسميات مختلفه كده؟ افترض الامارات عايزه تعمل محطه تستثمر في حاجه في ايران، هي ما تقدرش طبعا تعمل كده. الكلبه دي ما تقدرش تعمل كده لما نقول لها طبعا وتاخد اذننا. فده ما اسموش ال 300 مليار دول، ما اسمهمش كده، ما اسمهمش رشوه، اسمهم اعانه يا حاجه، اعانه، جوائز، هدايا، مسابقات، اعتبريها يا نصيب، بس اعتبريها اي حاجه تانية. وعلى فكرة كلام ديفانس ده متسق تماما مع الحقيقة، ومتسق تماما مع فيديو أول ما جهزوه زمايلي لسه ترامب قايله عن مكالمات أجراها مع محمد بن سلمان، هعرضه لحضراتكم في حينها. وبيقول فيها ان انا واستخدمنا مطاراتهم، وهو كان هو سعيد بالاتفاق وما اعرفش ايه، واستخدمنا مطاراتهم وهم اصلا ما لهمش حق ان يعترضوا، هو يقدر يفتح بقه، ما انا مستخدمها غصب عن عين امه. ترامب كان بيقول كده، هدية السماء للأمة بتمن فادح، لكن هو الصحيان بيبقى تمنه بسيط.